For lesson 10.1, the main topic is the imperfect tense. Now, earlier we learned about the preterite tense, which is the simple past in Spanish. The imperfect tense is also the simple past in Spanish, but it's used to communicate different types of past actions. We'll talk about that in a minute. As you can see here, these are the verb endings for AR, ER, and IR verbs in the imperfect tense. So for AR verbs, there'll always be this right here. As you can see in the nosotros form, there's an accent mark on the A, always be an accent mark there. If you can think of it this way, it's 3 syllables, vamos, and this is the stressed syllable, so it'll always have an accent mark there. ER and IR verbs, they both have the exact same endings. Just make sure that all of them have an accent mark as well. Easy part about the imperfect tense is that there are no stem changes. So you don't have to worry about any type of stem changes in the imperfect tense. Jugaba, jugábamos, dormía, dormíamos, servíamos, servían, and so forth. Also, in the imperfect tense, there are only 3 imperfect verbs: ir, ser, and ver. Ir, iba, ibas, iba, era, eras, era, veía, veías, veías, and so forth. So almost all the verbs in the imperfect tense are regular verbs. Only these 3 are imperfect. And one other verb is the verb haber, I. There is, había 3 personas, habían 3 personas, habíamos, and so forth. Now, one of the most complex topics in Spanish is when to use the imperfect tense and when to use the preterite tense. Most people struggle with this, and it is understandable. In general, they've done studies, and it takes around 15 years of studying Spanish to fully master the differences between the imperfect and the preterite. This is kind of a simple breakdown. We'll talk about it more in the next lesson, 10.2, on the exact differences between the two. But you can see it. As we said, the preterite is a completed past action, something that in the past you finished, or the way that you're talking about it, you finished. Whereas the imperfect is an action that continues in the past, where it's more of a long-term past action. A way to visualize this is that in the preterite, the action can be seen as a dot in the past, whereas the imperfect tense, an action in the perfect tense is something that occurs over a line in the past. Or another way to see it is that the preterite has a definite beginning and end when you're talking about it, and the imperfect, there is no definite beginning or end. There's really no cue as to when to use the imperfect or the preterite. It really depends on what the speaker is trying to communicate. So a lot of times it depends on the context and what exactly the person or whoever is using the verb is trying to communicate. So for the homework for this section, all you have to do in the first one is just conjugate the verb to the correct subject in the imperfect tense. So we have antes la familia Álvarez cenar a las 8 de la noche. Well, the subject is la familia, so it's cenaba. Antes la familia Álvarez cenaba a las 8 de la noche. And you can see we're talking about a past action. There's really no beginning or end. We're saying before in the past, this family used to eat at 8 o'clock. We don't know what days they ate, when they started, when they stopped. We just know that in the past, over a period of time, they would eat at 8 at night. Number 2, de niña yo cantar en el coro de niños de San Juan. The subject's yo, so de niña yo cantaba en el coro de niños de San Juan. As a little girl, I sang in the children's choir of San Juan. In this context, this person's saying that they used to sing in this choir as a child. They don't really specify when they started being a child, when they stopped being a child, when they started singing, when they stopped singing. It's just over a period of time in the past, they sang. Number 3, cuando vivían en la costa, ustedes nadar por las mañanas, nadar to swim. So, cuando vivían en la costa, ustedes nadaban por las mañanas. So, when you lived on the or when they lived on the coast, they would swim in the mornings. We don't know how long they lived on the coast, when they stopped living on the coast, when they stopped swimming. We just know that for an indefinite period of time in the past, they would swim, or you would swim in the mornings. For the second one, what you have to do is rewrite the sentence, put it all together, conjugating the verb. So, number one, mi abuela ser muy trabajadora y amable. Well, ser, we know it's one of the regular verbs. So if we put it together, mi abuela era muy trabajadora y amable. So my grandmother was very hardworking and kind. As you can see, there's really no start or end point to when this grandmother was hardworking. We just know that for an indefinite period of time in the past, she was hardworking and kind. Tú ir al teatro cuando vivías en Nueva York. Well, ir is another irregular verb in the preterite. So tú ibas al teatro cuando vivías en Nueva York. You used to go to the theater when you lived in New York. We don't know when this person started living in New York, when they stopped, what day they went to the theater. We just know that for some period of time in the past, they would go to the theater.